Candles are magical, even in everyday life, whether adding atmosphere to a meal, soothing restless children at night, or sitting after you've turned off the computer and the mobile phones by candlelight, allowing the day to drift away and yourself to relax so that you can sleep without lying awake all night tossing and turning and worrying about the day that's gone or the future morning. Every child who wishes on a birthday candle shares in the rich mythology of early candle magic. When did candle magic begin? We know that in the early caves, the inner caves were illuminated with tallow lamps that may have been the first sites of Mother Goddess worship. We also know from documents written on papyrus that in the 3rd century BC, the ancient Egyptians used candles remarkably similar to modern ones in a ritual known as dreaming true. A man or woman who had an important decision to make, or who faced a dilemma, the outcome of which was unclear, would go to a south-facing cave. South was the direction that symbolized illumination and also the source of the life-giving Nile. The person would sit in the darkness that was broken only by the candle glow and gaze into the flame until an image of a deity appeared in the halo round the light. This would be a deity who ruled over the particular area over which they were asking. Perhaps it might be Isis, the mother goddess, who would come to a woman asking about conceiving a baby. Hathor, the goddess of wisdom and love, who came to people who wanted to find their one true love. Or the god Thoth, who brought learning, writing, healing, and wisdom. The person would then extinguish the candle and go to sleep, and it was said the god or the goddess would come to them in a dream and bring the answer. In the modern world, we still use what is called dream incubation. If you have something you really want to know and you can't find the answer, before bedtime, light a pink or green candle, look into the flame and ask aloud or in your mind what it is you want to know. Then write a few words on a piece of paper to summarize your question. Read this 9 times with your voice getting softer and slower until at last your words go into silence. Then fold the paper, put it under your pillow, blow out the candle, and the answer will either come in a dream as a symbol or a message, or the next day by some unmistakable sign. In lands influenced by the Celts, Wales, Scotland and Ireland, the Christmas Eve candle was until relatively recently lit on December the 24th as darkness fell in a window facing the street to welcome the Virgin Mary on her long journey to Bethlehem, while the Christian celebration of Candlemas, the Festival of Candles, held on February the 2nd, was in pre-Christian times sacred to the goddess Bridget, who was said to melt the winter snows with her fiery willow wand. In spells, the candle acts as a focus for the spell purpose and, as it is lit, to generate power. When the candle is burned through, or we snuff or blow it out, the light is transformed into radiance to fill our energy field with confidence and determination, as well as to carry our wishes into the cosmos. Some people believe that you shouldn't blow out a candle. Rather, you should extinguish it. But to me, that seems a terrible waste of the magical light, when as you blow it, you can send light with blessings to anyone in need. Or you can push the light symbolically into the focus of your spell, whether that's a crystal, whether it's a little charm, or a bag of herbs. You can use absolutely any kind of candle for magic, although on a whole it's better to choose ones where the colour goes all the way through and that are not just white candles dipped in colour on the outside. Traditionally, however, beeswax are the most magical of all candles. sacred in the modern world to the Virgin Mary and her mother Anne. And in pre-Christian times, beeswax was dedicated to Rhea, the Greek earth goddess, to Demeter, the ancient grain mother, and to Artemis, the huntress god, and the love goddesses Aphrodite and Venus. Beeswax candles are almost always used for attracting magic, rather than for banishing or binding purposes, because bees and honey are associated with abundance and with all good things. Indeed, if you burn your beeswax candle on a broad, flat, metal candle holder, you can use the fallen wax to create a talisman. By drawing either your astrological sun sign, or writing or drawing an image or a word of what it is you most need or desire. Cut a circle round the image while the candle wax is still warm and ease it off the tray with a spatula. When it is cool, put the talisman in a cloth bag, and when it crumbles, replace it, unless the purpose of the spell is already fulfilled. Afterwards, the wax can be buried, having passed your hand over it anti-clockwise, to remove the spell energies, and then you return it to Mother Earth. Of course, you can make charms and talismans with beeswax sheets, but it is much better to use the beeswax that you've actually burned, because that way you give it the power of the intention and the spell. I use the word talisman, and in magic that usually refers to a charm made for a specific purpose at a specific time. For example, that I will do well in an interview on such a date. In contrast, the word charm usually means a general, unspecified good thing, whether this is bringing love, whether it's bringing money, whether it's bringing health. While an amulet, the old word, is traditionally used just for charms that are protective. Each candle colour has its own special meaning. This meaning is released by the simple act of lighting the candle, and so it's a very, very powerful form of colour magic. Red, for example, you'd light for courage, change, passion. Orange for self-confidence, fertility, creativity. Yellow is the colour of learning, so you'd light your yellow candle if you were taking a test or an examination. You'd also use yellow if you were planning to go on a short holiday or a business trip. Green is always the colour of gentle growth, whether it's health, money, happiness. Blue is the colour for career, justice, long-term travel, or if you want to move home. Purple is mainly used for spiritual matters, while pink will serve for anything to do with family, children, and peace and reconciliation, and mending those stupid quarrels we often regret straight afterwards. Brown candles can be lit for property matters, for DIY, or for anything where you need security or stability. Black is sometimes not used in magic. Indigo or a very dark purple is substituted, but black means endings that lead to beginnings. Finally, we have white, and you can always use a white or a natural beeswax candle for any purpose. White means beginnings, energy, success, anything that is good and positive and active. The following is a basic format for all candle magic, to attract what you need using the power we call psychokinesis. This is the psychic power we have to draw to us what we need, amplified in candle magic by the power of the fire. Indeed, it is said all you need for magic is any candle and yourself. There are few spells where lighting a candle is not a central part. The candle, it is said, forms the earth, the substance of the ritual, and may be scented to give it magical meaning. For example, rose for love, orange for abundance, and patchouli for money. The air that launches your wishes into the cosmos is represented by the smoke and the fragrance of the candle. The flame ignites the whole process and provides the transformative energy to bring need into actuality. Finally, the melting wax blends all the energies together to form the fifth element, spirit, akasha, ether, whatever it's called, when suddenly what we wish does become a distinct possibility and may bounce back into life, often as a chance to achieve what we want. The very simplest candle spell is to choose a candle in the colour that symbolises what it was you want and you need. And then as you light it, you would say, I call on earth to bind my spell, air to speed its purpose well, fire, the magic power to grow, water brings the magic flow. 1 in 4 till there is 5. The magic spell is now alive, and on that moment you blow out your candle. And like you were when you were a little child, blowing your birthday candles out, you wish and you wish and you wish. And just maybe there's a passing angel that will send you the means to get that desire. But there is a slightly more complicated ritual you can use that again will serve for many, many different kinds of candle magic. Again, before you begin, formulate your wish. Place your chosen coloured candle and holder on a broad metal or fireproof tray, or, if you prefer, have a separate bowl of earth to catch anything you burn in. Write on a long, thin strip of paper of the same colour as the candle, or on white paper in the appropriately coloured pen, what it is you wish for. Use just 3 or 4 or 5 words, or if you prefer, draw a symbol or a picture to represent what you want. Traditionally in Magick, when people write 3 or 4 or 5 words beforehand, they remove all the vowels and run the words together before copying the words the final time. However you do this, fold the paper to make it as narrow as possible. And then we go on to stage 2. Put a pinch of salt into the flame to make the candle flame sparkle. This substitutes as the traditional offerings made on a festival fire when making requests. Salt also offers magical protection. You could also, or instead, add to the flame, in the molten wax around the actual flame area, herbs, rosemary for passion and fidelity, dried sage for knowledge, tarragon called the dragon's herb, to give you courage. Stage 3 involves speaking the wish or the need aloud and stating the desired time frame within a month, a week, or sometimes whenever it is right to be, if you're not certain, and then hold your paper wish into the candle flame. It may be that your paper will not initially stay alight. This does not seem to depend on the type of paper, as members of my psychic classes have using identical paper and pens and very similar candles have found their tapers burn in different ways. If your taper does go out, light it again. If the paper burns instantly and quickly, success will be quick to come. But if it burns slowly, stops, smoulders and begins again, you will succeed. It just takes a little bit longer and perhaps some more effort. As you burn your paper wish, repeat a mantra, a few words connected with it. For example, candle burn, luck turn, bring to me the job I need. And say this over and over again until it becomes imprinted in your mind. If you wish, you can say it louder and faster until you build up to a peak of power. Then blow out the candle, repeating the mantra. Finally, take the burned paper still in the soil and throw it outdoors to be absorbed by Mother Earth, washed away by the rain, or scatter to the winds, saying in your mind, I leave all in the hands of Mother Earth. Calling people back into your life telepathically, or calling someone you would like to know better in the candle flame. This is a more sophisticated but no more complicated version of the previous spell. But this time you're using mind power to direct your energies not to a wish, but to a specific person. This telepathy is empowered by the candle flame and also by your strongly felt emotion. The version of this spell I am going to use is very gentle, but the original spell involved sticking 2 pins into the wick of the candle about halfway down, using such dramatic words as, "'Tis not these pins I wish to burn, but a lover's heart to turn. May he neither sleep nor rest till he has granted my request." Now that is a bit close to the boundaries of free will. If you do want to use pins stuck into the candle, the idea being that when the candle burns and the pins fall out, your wish will be granted, use softer words. "'Tis not these pins I wish to burn, but a willing heart to turn. Though I do not speak your name, I call you love in candle flame." However, the version I prefer involves a tall beeswax candle or a white candle in a deep holder. Carry out the spell at midnight, a traditional time for calling love back. Of course, the spell does not have to be for a reluctant lover, but it can be anyone who is estranged from you, someone with whom you have lost touch, and especially for calling back lost love. Light the candle at precisely midnight, as you do so saying, "As this wax melts, so melts his heart." Sit in silence until the wax begins to melt. And if you're using beeswax, that won't be long because beeswax melts very fast. As the first wax falls, say, "The wax melts, so melts his heart. From now on, may we never part." Blow out the candle. When the candle is cool, wrap it and keep it safely until the person returns, or repeat after 3 weeks if necessary. If you are estranged from the person for whom you're doing the spell, the next day try to make some gesture of reconciliation, or at least to get back in touch. The joining of the lights of 2 candles in a single flame is a potent symbol of unity in both formal and informal love commitment ceremonies. It has become particularly popular in weddings in America. This version of the ritual can be carried out privately by you and your partner as a way of affirming mutual commitment. This can be very helpful if you're in the middle of wedding plans and feel you're losing sight of the reasons for the union. It can also be a simple but powerful way of marking your first evening as a committed couple if there's been no public acknowledgement of your coming together. This is a good rite to repeat periodically on anniversaries, or for married couples to do after a period of crisis or disunity. You can also use the spell alone as a way of increasing commitment if others, such as a would-be partner's ex-love or relatives, are trying to drive a wedge between you. In this case, you would do all the candle lighting and say all the words. I have also known this ritual be done for a joint business venture, especially if partners are good friends or are emotionally connected. You will need a large white pillar candle and 2 smaller white candles in separate holders. If there are children involved in the new relationship, each of them can have a small white candle to be lit at ceremony when the families come together, or if you prefer, you can light them for the children as a way of including the love, especially if it's a step-family relationship where perhaps you don't know the children very well. You and your lover would take a separate white candle and light it. As you do so, each of you saying one after the other, "These are the gifts I offer to you." Both of you would then in turn name the gifts you offer the other person in marriage or commitment. If this is a rededication after a separation or a quarrel, you can pledge what you will in future try to offer. If you're doing the ceremony alone, you would say as you light the first candle what it is you value in your would-be partner, and then when you light the other candle, what you would wish to offer. Then if you're working together, you would both light the pillar candle from each other's individual candles, as you do so listing the qualities that you most value in each other. If doing the ritual alone, you would repeat first what you value in the other person, and secondly, what it is you are offering in the marriage or the commitment. Having done this, extinguish the separate candles one after the other, as you do so saying in turn, or if you're alone, saying 3 times, "We are no longer separate, but willingly unite in love and in fidelity, in trust and in harmony. Henceforth we two are one, and in unity may we remain." This would be the point when you would light any children's candles. Leave the pillar candle to burn down, or if it's still burning at bedtime, relight it at another time when you feel you need to re-establish unity. Candle spells, whether for love, prosperity, or for granting wishes, can be made doubly powerful by lighting a candle in the astrological colour to signify the person or people about whom the spell is concerned, and engraving their sun sign glyph on the side of each candle with a thin paper knife, traditionally silver, or a tiny screwdriver, or even a long pin or a shiny iron sharp nail. Astrological magic is especially potent for love or for reconciliation, where you can bring 2 candles representing 2 people closer and closer over a period of nights. Each night during the spell period, you would light first your own candle and then the other person's candle from yours, saying, "I call you close," or "I call you back in love, as moth to flame, bee to flower, butterfly to nectar, eagle flying to the sun, so fire is called to fire." At first the candles, on the first night at least, would be quite far apart, but then night by night you would move them closer. This is especially good to do on the 3 nights before the full moon. Each time you do the spell, briefly join the 2 candle flames, and having spoken words of love, blow them out, saying, "May the flames of love never grow cold." On the 4th night, on the full moon, light the 2 candles on a metal tray or a single large flat holder, secured with the molten wax. So the candles are very, very close, and as they melt, the wax will mingle. This wax you can then use to make a love talisman. Wait until the wax is almost cool and draw your entwined astroglyphs in the wax. Enclose them in a heart, and then when the wax is completely cool, you can cut out your talisman and keep it as a charm for your love. You can, for personal spell wishes, light 1 candle engraved with your astrological glyph, and then add a second one in the colour of your need. But this time we're going to work with the colours of the zodiac periods whose strength you need, whatever the time of year or regardless of your own birth period. For example, supposing you wanted to travel across the world for 6 months. If you were born on August the 24th, as a Virgo, you would naturally choose a green Virgoan candle and draw the astrological glyph of Virgo on the side. But Virgo is not a natural adventurer, and so you could borrow the bright yellow or turquoise colour of Sagittarius, the voyager of the astrological cosmos, and draw his glyph on the side of this second yellow candle. Then you would put your candle wish paper briefly into your Virgo candle, but transfer it very fast into the Sagittarius candle, and let Sagittarius release the energies and carry you on your way. I have listed in the accompanying notes to the recording the different astrological signs, their meanings, and how you draw the different glyphs. Holding a candle magic party for abundance, good fortune, and for granting specific wishes. You can, of course, do this kind of candle magic alone, and I have suggested in my moon magic recording a simplified version. But an astro magic party makes a lovely evening with friends, family, work colleagues, even at a hen party, although you may not have quite the right moon. If, for example, you're in the waning moon, when for candle magic you generally like a growing, waxing moon, the crescent especially, or a full moon, just light extra silver candles to build up your lunar energies. Each person present would take an astrological candle in their own colour, buy a good selection ready, and then they would engrave on the side of it their own sun sign glyph. Have a printed sheet for everybody, giving the glyphs, giving the astrological meanings, so they can very quickly choose this first candle that is right for them. You could also add extra power by anointing the candles, using olive oil, or if you wish you can buy special fragranced anointing oils from candle and new age stores. Better still, add 2 or 3 drops of a perfumed essential oil to 1/4 of an egg cup of olive oil or almond oil. Each person would have their little egg cup of oil, and as they did so, pour the essential oil drop by drop into the egg cup, swirling gently 9 times clockwise, 9 times anti-clockwise, 9 times clockwise, 9 times anti-clockwise, and 9 times clockwise again, the olive and the essential oils together, all the time picturing light and power pouring into the oil. Then each person rubs the oil with the index finger of the hand they write with, anointing first down the body of the candle from the top, but leaving the wick area without any oil on it, because candles obviously are even more flammable once they have oil on. You need use only a small amount of the oil, as the action is symbolic. Stop just below halfway, and then rub from the bottom of the candle upwards, this time with the index finger of the other hand, focusing on any needs or any special wishes. Then, each person chooses a second candle, again based on the astrological meaning. For example, if someone had a concern about home, if they wanted to have a baby, or a happy family, they would pick silver, the colour of Cancer, and then on the side of the candle they would engrave with a pin or a little screwdriver the Cancerian glyph. Again, the candle would be anointed, filling it with the power and the wishes of what was most wanted. All present then sit in a circle next to their candles and surround the 2 candles with jewellery, coins, fruit, flowers they've been asked to bring, any symbol to signify abundance. If someone's getting married, you can put the presents you bring them for the wedding shower, all those little tiny fun things that actually symbolise the happy times ahead. Have some spare crystals in case people forget to bring special things. As for candle magic, especially if you're doing it on the crescent moon to grow the energies, you need as many sparkling things as possible. In the middle of the circle, put a huge silver candle embedded in a cauldron if you have one, or a deep pot filled with sand or soil. The youngest person present, or the bride-to-be, lights this silver candle to indicate the beginning of the ceremony, and then a blessing can be spoken by the oldest person present. This could be a spontaneous blessing, or you could write one in advance. One of my favourites for candle magic evenings, and indeed any time when people gather together, is circle this room, Mother, Father. Keep harm outside, keep peace within. Circle this room, Father, Mother. Bless all who gather here this night. Each person then takes a piece of paper and draws their sun sign glyph on it and writes a wish or a need. But the important thing is, no one must put their name on the paper. White paper is absolutely fine with blue ink. When the wish is ready, each wish is then placed in another pot near the cauldron. All the candles are lit, the astrological candles in turn from the central candle, and then the wish candles from each person's lighted astro candle. Then in turn, each person comes and takes a wish from the central pot, reads it aloud, it will probably not be your own wish, and singes it in the central candle flame, dropping the wish to burn out in a separate pot of sand or soil. You could drop it into the cauldron, but as I've found, this can be a bit of a fire hazard. When all the wishes have been burned, each person recites their wish in their mind 9 times and makes a promise what they will give in return to everyone else by the time the moon reaches this phase again. That could be a kindness, that could be taking someone out to lunch, that could be contacting an elderly relative. You promise something small, but in doing so you're saying, hey, this is what I need from the cosmos, and I'm going to put some kindness back into the world. Then on a prearranged signal, all the candles are blown out except for the huge central silver one, which is left burning for the rest of the evening. Then you can enjoy a bring and share supper, if warm outdoors. Any jewellery you've empowered by the candle will actually be filled with strength and good luck, as will any fruit or any crystals. So you can carry them with you or eat the fruit in the days ahead to bring you the magic of the evening. You can, of course, do this alone and light candles for people you care for and burn wishes for each of them in the central flame. It really is still very magical. And of course, if you're working on your own, you would make all the wishes and the promises aloud. Even though the tradition of saying a small prayer of thanks before a meal has stopped in most households, lighting a central candle before beginning a meal will set the tone for a tranquil mealtime. In the busy modern world, settled mealtimes are sometimes hard to achieve. Food tends to be eaten fast or separately, if the family comes in at different times, or we sit in front of the television. But on those occasions when there is more time, marking the mealtime, even when eating alone, makes eating a pleasurable occasion, even with the simplest of food. The following blessing is based on an old Celtic house blessing from the spoken tradition. Before setting the table, light a single white candle in a holder in the centre of the table, and say as you do so, I light this flame in love and peace, that this table and this meal and all who are present may be filled with joy, tranquility and harmony. Now pass your hands over the table in clockwise circles. As you move your hands continuously, say softly aloud or in your mind if you prefer, may blessings and peace, joy and good companionship, kind words and laughter enter this home and this mealtime. Welcome to all who come in friendship and love. Of course, when you're dashing round, you might think, well, the last thing I want to do is be waving my hands and lighting candles. But in fact, it stops you, it slows you down, and suddenly, instead of the mad dash of the day, you know why you're cooking. You know that you're going to be together with your family or your friends, or even enjoying some quiet time by yourself. So leave the candle to burn, then go back to the kitchen and the bustle, but you'll find you're not as panicky as you were and maybe not as irritable. And when everything is ready, put the meal on the table. Light a second white candle from the first in the centre of the table to transfer the blessings, and leave both candles burning throughout the meal. In the old tradition, notches were marked on a candle to allow a person to speak or to measure off a period of time after which something different would happen. In Sweden today, they have special candles on all the days of Advent, when each day one of the day's candle notches is burned, and however busy the family are, they try and sit together and talk. Marking notches on a candle, though, is also a way of mending quarrels. It's a way of listening to what the other person is saying, because so often we don't actually hear what the other person is saying. We hear what we think they're saying. We hear the voices of the past, and they in turn hear their voices of the past. And so you can often get a misunderstanding and ill will where there needs be none, especially in a family where one or two people may be drama kings and queens, and so never listen to anybody else. Lighting a candle and gathering the family round, or yourself and your partner after a quarrel, is a very good way of centering yourselves and going back so you actually start to listen. Choose a fast burning candle like beeswax, or a fragrant rose or lavender one that aids reconciliation. Mark the first notch, light the candle, and then the first person speaks, totally uninterrupted. No one is allowed to say anything. Once their notch has burned down, then you put a little salt in the flame and say, "May all be consigned to the flame and transformed into positivity." If the person doesn't want to carry on talking because they've said everything, use the time just to sit quietly, maybe to hold hands and to remember why it was you and the person came together in the first place, or why your family means so much. Even children can do this. And then you mark the second notch, and you carry on till everyone has had their say. And then finally, you blow out the candle and sit in the darkness and say, "May peace be restored." If you try and do that even once a month, especially if you're growing apart from people, it gives you a chance to be together, to listen. And in the modern world, when we're rushing 24/7, we often need a candle just to draw us back together. Fragrant candles. I mentioned at the beginning of the recording how each fragrance can have a different significance. And when you burn a scented candle, it's a way of releasing not only the power of the candle, but the magical meaning of each fragrance. For example, when you burn an orange candle as background, it brings well-being, a sense of abundance, a sense of gentle happiness. Jasmine you can burn for encouraging love. And these candles can just be background when you're sitting relaxing together, when you're watching television. And the background fragrance may be all you need to subtly alter the mood and to get a family to relax. Or at a mealtime, if you burn orange and yellow candles, the communication is lively but not confrontational. However, sometimes you may need to do a little more. And this I often call secret candle magic. You've got a difficult relative who's coming. And so, if you burn a lavender candle, it will bring softness. But if you know you really have got an uphill struggle and they always upset the family, then maybe you want to mix and match and add, say, a pine cleansing candle to reduce any bad atmosphere and help sulky teenagers. But this time, as you light the candle, say in your mind a mantra or a few words relating to the purpose for which you're lighting the candle. Lavender, lavender, bring only kind words. And then as you talk, as you carry on with the evening or the day, the candle will act as a power source, spreading the abundance, spreading the peace. And afterwards, as you blow the candle out, so again you say your mantra. Lavender, lavender, bring only kind words. And then you'll notice that afterwards the room retains the gentleness and the kindness. And bit by bit, the people involved don't magically overnight change. But the more you do this, the more receptive they become, the softer. This secret magic that nobody knows about is often one of the most effective forms of candle spells. Candles are, as I said at the beginning of the recording, a wonderful way of bringing magic into your everyday life. But candles are more than that. Candles are a way of reminding us of an older, slower time. And in the modern frantic world of bright fluorescent lighting, of noise, of constant what shall we do, where shall we go, lighting a candle, whether it's at a mealtime, while you're relaxing, or for a specific purpose, is a way of drawing not only magic together, but drawing yourself together, drawing all the bits of you that have gone flying off, that you've left here, there and everywhere. And sometimes the most effective spell is just to sit looking into a candle flame, not saying anything, not doing anything, not even thinking, I ought to be meditating, I ought to be breathing, I ought to be counting my breaths, I ought to be visualizing something in this flame, but just simply letting the candle be, letting yourself be. Don't time it, don't worry, just sit there. And sometimes you'll feel that you've been sitting for an hour, in fact it's only 5 minutes. But the power of the candle, the earth, the air, the fire, the water, transform even the most mundane moments into something magical and special that you can then transform and take into the rest of your life. May you have many beautiful candle wishes.